When someone leaves their job, they don't often continue collecting a paycheck. But Baltimore's watchdog says that's what she uncovered in this latest report, and several employees are tied to the mayor's office.
City State's Attorney Ivan Bates says he granted this type of leave for an employee who is set to leave the position in December.
But I'm also going to be empathetic, because to keep good people, your employees need to see that you care about them.
Is that the responsibility of taxpayers to foot the bill for that empathy?
So we're back in Baltimore, and I got another report from the Inspector Journal, and it's bad. There's ghost employees, six-figure payouts, and the mayor's response is so arrogant and silly. It's hard to believe. Let's get into it.
Says the latest findings show a total of 15 city employees paid a total of about $312,000, including 5 employees tied to the mayor's office, one who worked for the city for 6 months. In total, these employees collected about $147,000 for 276 days on leave.
Between the chief administrative office and the mayor's office, there was about eight employees, and it ended up being about $200,000, and the rest was throughout the rest of the city.
Inspector General Isabel Cumming says the office investigated this permission leave years prior and were promised changes would be made.
Disproportionate amount being given to certain people wasn't supposed to happen anymore. And our tip was that it was, and that was substantiated.
A couple even continued to get paid while on this leave, even after they had formally left.
But then the time get pushed back, so during the time that you have permission leave, you're also accruing sick time, you're accruing vacation time, and this is all during a time that you're not even working.
8 employees, $200,000 just from the mayor's office and the chief administrative office alone. And that's before you count the rest of the city, because that total bill is $312,000 across 15 employees collecting paychecks for 276 days of not working. How's that even possible? I mean, let's understand what permission leave actually is. These are people who are supposed to be done. Their time is up. They were separated from their positions, and somehow they kept getting paid. They kept getting direct deposits from the city of Baltimore, from your tax dollars. And we're not talking about just one rogue agency burying something in the budget. We're talking about employees tied directly to the mayor's office, the people closest to Brandon Scott, the people who report up to him. So this is a culture where city employees walk out on the door and the city just keeps paying them. There's no accountability, no audit, no common sense, just taxpayer money flowing to people who are not even showing up anymore. The IG found it, and now we're hearing more about this. And the fact that she is still getting cut off from the information that's supposed to be helping expand this investigation to see how much money is probably being taken away from the taxpayer due to Brandon Scott's administration.
This report was launched before her access to records was cut in February. I asked her if these findings would be possible under the current access her office has, and she had a simple answer. She said no.
One word, no. That is the most important word in this entire story. Isabel Cumming, this is the Baltimore City Inspector General. At this point, the mayor's prime enemy, the person whose entire job is to be that watchdog, is telling you flat out that this investigation only happened because she still had access to city records when it launched. That access was cut back in February. So let's connect the dots here, because we need to see why this is a problem. The mayor's office is currently fighting to restrict what the IG can see. They have been in a legal battle over her access to records. Now we have this IG report finding $312,000 in questionable payments tied to the mayor's own office. And she's saying under these current conditions, she couldn't even find this. This is Brandon Scott, his administration, designed to protect itself. You don't cut off the watchdog's access because you have nothing to hide. You cut off because you do have something to hide. And the fact this report exists at all should scare whoever is in the mayor's office, because it's a preview of what was happening when the lights was really out. What happens in the dark? We may never know.
And another employee stayed on the city's payroll for the insurance benefits.
That I'm not just going to kick somebody. And look, would someone say it was fraud and waste? Yeah, without a doubt. I get it. I understand. But I'm also going to be empathetic, because to keep good people, your employees need to see that you care about them.
So did the state's attorney of Baltimore City just admit that this looks like fraud and waste and then just kept talking? It looks like he did.
Of course, they also report to the mayor.
And 2 employees were also discovered within the state's attorney's office, found to benefit from this type of leave.
What happened?
Well, look, the IG doesn't only do it the mayor, the IG's after me too.
Ivan Bates is not a low-level staffer. He is the chief law enforcement officer of Baltimore City. His entire job is to understand what fraud looks like and prosecute it. And when a situation happens when someone gets caught with employees on his payroll collecting checks that they shouldn't be collecting, his defense is empathy. That is a very odd answer. It seems like a very touching answer if he was spending his own money, but he's not. He's spending taxpayer money. The taxpayer money of Baltimore don't get to vote on whether what dollars go to someone's extended holiday pay. That decision was made for them by a man that just looked in the camera and said, well, it might be fraud, but I feel bad. Now, here's why his response is so odd. Ivan Bates and Brandon Scott have documented tension. These two are not allies. So why is Ivan Bates being so soft on this issue when the IG just handed him a perfect moment to let the mayor take the heat alone? We'll come back to that.
I'm not just going to kick somebody. And look, would someone say it was fraud and waste? Yeah, without a doubt. I get it. I understand. But I'm also going to be empathetic because to keep good people, your employees need to see that you care about them.
Is that the responsibility of taxpayers to foot the bill for that empathy?
Not necessarily, but if it's going to ensure that we have trained people who want to stay and work in the office, that's an investment that we have to make.
An investment. He's calling unauthorized taxpayer payouts an investment. So let's be really clear about what Ivan Bates is actually arguing here. He is saying that keeping a departed employee on the city's health insurance on the public dime is a retention strategy, that it signals to current employees that he cares, that this builds loyalty. Now, maybe in a private company with private money, that's a conversation worth having, but this isn't a startup. This is a government office funded by the Baltimore residents, many of whom don't have the luxury of someone keeping them on the payroll out of goodwill when they lose their own jobs. The audacity of calling this an investment while working in a city that routinely tells residents there's no money for basic services, there's a budget gap, there's budget cuts, that should make everyone in Baltimore really mad. And the weird part about this is Ivan Bates has been at odds with Brandon Scott publicly. So why is he rolling over this softly when he's literally named in the IG report? That answer might be simpler than conspiracy. I guess he just can't go hard on the culture of misusing public funds when he just admitted he's doing the same thing. So he's not protecting Scott, he's protecting himself.
I did reach out to the mayor's office to get a more specific response. In a statement, a spokesperson says, quote, the OIG report sensationalizes standard and extremely common HR practices utilized across industries to manage personnel matters, such as separations from employment.
So the mayor with another terrible response. I mean, sensationalizing, that's the word that they want to choose. The inspector general, the person who was appointed to provide independent oversight of this government, filed a formal report documenting this questionable payments tied directly to his office. And the mayor's response is that she's just being dramatic. Let's talk about the common sense industry argument, because this is where they think they can confuse people. Yes, private companies sometimes offer severance packages, extended benefits, or transition periods for employees leaving. That is a real thing that exists. But private companies are spending shareholder money or their own revenue. They answer to the board. They answer to investors. Baltimore City answers to the taxpayers. This is not the same. You cannot use the excuse that other people do it as a defense when the people funding this have no say in how the money is being spent and they're not the ones benefiting. The mayor's office took a legitimate IG finding, wrapped it in corporate HR language, and handed it back to the public like we wouldn't notice. This is not a defense. This is a reputation management strategy, and it's a really bad one because it doesn't make any sense.
The statement goes on to say discretionary HR decisions, quote, especially ones that do not violate policy, are not inequitable or wasteful simply because the IG personally perceives them to be.
The IG personally perceives them to be. The mayor's office just dismissed this report as one person's personal opinion. It's not an independent finding. It's not an evidence-based investigation. It's just perception. That framing is not by accident. It's a deliberate attempt to discredit the IG herself rather than address what she actually found. And notice what they didn't say. They didn't say that the payments were justified. They didn't say that the employees performed services that warranted the money. They just said the decisions didn't technically violate policy, therefore the IG's concerns don't count. That's a very, very low bar. We didn't break our own rules is not the same as we did right by the people of Baltimore. And his response lands even worse when you remember that his entire administration have been actively working to restrict the IG's access to records. You're telling the watchdogs her findings are just her opinion, while simultaneously making sure that she has less ability to find things in the future. That is cover, that's defense, and we see exactly what's happening here. So put it all together, we have $312,000, 15 employees, 8 tied directly to the mayor's office that basically found this, no longer had access to these information. Then we have the state attorneys who admitted that it looks like fraud, but calls it empathy. And then you have the mayor responding by calling this whole independent investigation someone's personal perception. Baltimore deserves better oversight than what we're seeing. And the fact the mayor is trying to take this oversight and systematically dismantle it, that's the real issue that we have here. But let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.